oh look, I'm a professional footballer and there's a bottle in the way of the camera. So I'm just going to move that because I don't agree with it. Although, should I do the Turkish coach where he drinks it like this? Yeah, that's so good. Pineapple Doritos, which is not a sponsor of this video. There we are. What a lovely day. Hello everyone and welcome to my new series, which is TTF, Tubbles Talks Football, and a lot of other rubbish. Today I want to talk about a subject which has been grating me for the past 2 days. I put up on Facebook straight after the Scotland-England game, Southgate out, and I was inundated with comments. Well, from my Facebook anyway, I had about 4 comments, which is lovely, saying, some people agreeing, some people laughing, and there was one comment that said, surely after one game you can't be serious. And I absolutely am serious, and I will try and explain why in just a second. I was at the... What game was I at? I was at the Croatia game on... what day was it now? Let me just check this on the computer while I'm at it. We played on... Was it Friday? No. Sunday. It was Sunday, wasn't it? Yeah, let me just check. Should have done research beforehand, but this is how it goes. England versus Croatia. You can't see this because I haven't switched the screen. Where are we? 1-0. Sunday the 13th of June. Yes. So I was there on Sunday last week. Hadn't been to football for a good 16 months or so. So it's first game back. You know, COVID restrictions, all that malarkey, and decent game. But one thing that struck me was, I don't know what to call it. It's probably the tactical ineptitude of our boss, Gareth Southgate. Now, I like him. I think he's an okay manager. I think he's probably better at international football than club management, because that didn't last long in Middlesbrough when he was there. And they say, oh, he's an attacking coach. No, he really isn't. And there's several reasons why I think he's not up for the job. The first reason would be he's more worried about losing than he is trying to go for a win. Playing 2 defensive midfielders in Rice and Phillips is fine against a side like Croatia, where we haven't really... they are allegedly strong. They're not as strong as they were when they beat us in the semi-final of the World Cup. They're a bit weaker now than what they were. So that's fine, and playing Trippier at left back was actually a decent move. It wasn't probably the best, but it worked, and we were lucky to get the victory on that game. But it's mainly it's not necessarily the performance against Scotland that annoyed me, because actually I think Scotland played incredibly well, and a lot of people didn't give them a chance to get anything out of the game, let alone get the point in the way that they did. I did see some predictions say 4-5-0 to the English, you know, and even with my Scottish biasness that I have occasionally, I predicted 3-1 England, because I thought the Croatia game would have been a warm-up, and then you play a slightly lesser side in Scotland, and the shackles will be off, because even if we lost that game against Scotland, you know, we'd be in a decent position because of the way the group stages in the Euros are set up. So I found that highly perplexing. And then I want to talk about the Raheem Sterling conundrum. I mean, Raheem Sterling is a fantastic player for Manchester City. He's had a bit of a down season, but the way that City play, sorry about that, my back just went. The way City play is very different to the way England play, and it's just a question of, you have the front three at Manchester City, and they're all interchanging. They all swap positions. You know, they're fluid in their movements. You know, the right winger is all of a sudden on the left side. The left wing is at striker, and the striker is just behind the left winger. So it all changes. And while Sterling scored the goal on Sunday, apart from that, it was a pretty abject performance. He just doesn't seem to get his head up when there's someone else on. It's like he's been told, you know, you go it alone. You're the main man, and he's just not looking up at what's around him. In the Scotland game the other day, it was just, you know, constant running into blind alleys, and you know, there was Foden open at one opportunity, Harry was open twice, and you know, if the balls had been slipped through, then you know, we would have probably had 2 or 3 goals. The penalty decision, looking back at it now, it's probably not a penalty, but in the heat of the moment, you're like, yes, definitely is a penalty, definitely is. But looking back at it now, it really wasn't. You know, he came into this tournament not in the greatest form. You know, he probably should have got a worse rating than Harry Kane, but you know how Sky Sports News like to, you know, belittle our captains. They did it with Beckham, they did it with Rooney, they probably did it with Gerrard, they probably did it with Lampard, and now they're doing it to Harry Kane. Yet the minute Harry moves to somewhere else, he'll be like the star boy, and Sky will be like, yeah, this is the greatest player we've ever seen. So it's all just double standards, really. The selection for the tournament itself is another question that I have. I mean, we've always struggled in England that some of our best players are always in the same position. So we'll have 4 centre midfielders in, like, you know, Scholes. Who played in 98? It was Scholes, someone else. Oh no, yeah, it was Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard, and then you had David Beckham. I think it was in 2002. And they literally put Paul Scholes out on the left wing because they wanted to accommodate him. But of course, they didn't want to change it for, you know, David Beckham, because he's a right midfielder. So we've always had that trouble where we don't seem to play the players in the positions that they seem to work best. Sterling plays better off the left. Rashford plays better on the right. I'm trying to think of others that have played elsewhere for the team. Grealish probably works better off the left wing and in midfield, and the same can be said for Foden. And then taking 4 right backs, or trying to, and then Trent getting injured. That wasn't necessarily good luck on our part. But trying to take 4 right backs when we're short on defenders as it is with Maguire's injury, albeit Tyrone Mings has probably exceeded expectations on how he's done on this tournament. He's probably not been as exposed as I thought he would be, but he's done really well. So I'm not complaining about Tyrone Mings, but I just think when you take 4 right backs and you leave yourself short in both centre back and in central midfield, because it was a choice between Ben White and James Ward-Prowse. Now, if James Ward-Prowse was playing in that game against Scotland, I guarantee you that England have more opportunities in that game, and the fact that Grealish didn't come on till the 63rd minute, and he was arguably our best player besides Mason Mount. And when you have a clinical striker like Harry Kane, and he gets, I think it was something like 19 passes in the game, and quite a few of them were on the left wing because he was just looking for service. You have a top striker who's as good as Lewandowski, who's in the tournament. He's probably better than Werner. He's better than most of the strikers in this tournament, and yet he hasn't even had a proper shot on target yet, and that purely boils down to the tactics. Harry Kane has arguably had one of his best seasons in a Tottenham shirt this season. Notwithstanding what we've been through, we finished, 7th? And we had a really, really, really bad season by our standards, but that's our club and that's for, a different video. But him and Son literally carried our team to where we finished. So it's not on Harry Kane. It's not because he's playing unfit, or it's it's the City move, or it's the it's the PSG move, it's the Man United move. It's got nothing to do with that. It's tactics. You can't expect your striker to play as a striker when the 2 wingers in Sterling and Foden aren't looking up and looking to cross the ball into the box. Harry can't suddenly decide, I'm going to go on the left wing, because he's then out of position. So you've then got him in a creative position, which will work for a point. But if you want the striker to be the main focus of the team, which he should be, then you need players around him that look up and say, right, I'm going to stick the ball in the corridor of uncertainty. You want them to be attacking the ball. It's all this. I don't see what the fascination is with football teams in general. Is that there's all this sideways movement waiting for a mistake to happen. You pass the ball from your right back to your right centre back. You then go to the left centre back. You then go into midfield, who passes it back to the centre back. And it's just a point of, we're waiting for people to make mistakes, and these teams aren't making mistakes. The Scotland side is not bad on paper, but it's sort of like your mid-range Burnley side. They're well drilled, they know what they're doing, you've just got to play around them. And Southgate was just like, oh, we'll be happy to take a draw. No one was running at the defenders. No one was saying, right, I'm going to take this game by the scruff of their neck. You've got 6 players who can defend, and then the 4 that can just go up and say, right, we'll take this game by the scruff of our neck. But Sterling was hogging the ball too long. He just looked like he wanted to, he didn't want to pass it. Foden, I thought, had a pretty decent game. I'm not going to lie. But again, I was shocked that he was taken off for Grealish. I thought you could move probably Foden further back slightly and then take out one of the holding midfielders, which in my opinion would have been Declan Rice, because I think Kelvin Phillips has, a better work rate being under Bielsa. He's really worked on, the fact that he's still pressing in the 89th minute when most of our players are dead on their feet, to be honest. It's just, you look at the formation and you think, this is going to be a boring game, and it's just, nobody wants to run at defenders, which scares defenders. Because I'll tell you this now, most defenders in these days don't know how to defend. You look at people like Pepe, Puyol, Piqué, real solid players. Maldini would be a great example. They love to defend, whereas you look at Tyrone Mings and John Stones, and they all play like sort of central midfielders. They're like comfortable with the ball, 30-yard passes, spraying it here, spraying it there, and it just doesn't work because they don't really fight for. They do fight, but they don't love to defend. They're not an absolute animal, like Pepe is. I mean, he would get sent off trying to stop most people trying to score. I remember when he kicked the bloke in the head. That was quite funny. But yeah, it's we always seem to hype up our players, and we never seem to get anywhere. And that's because we've got a tactically inept coach. I mean, the last point I want to make before I wrap this video up, because I don't want it to be too long, is that you look at our qualifying records for the Euros, for the World Cups, and you think, oh yeah, we're a great side, we go unbeaten in a group of 5, with Czech Republic, Bulgaria, San Marino, Andorra, and someone else, and we go unbeaten, and everyone's like, oh yeah, we've done well. You get Sancho coming through, you get Ward-Prowse, you get, players like that, and you think, oh yeah, we'll bring them in the tournament, and it's done. We do really well, and then it gets to the tournament stages. The squad is announced, and everybody goes, oh, Jordan Henderson's in the squad. I mean, what's that all about? Jordan Henderson hasn't played properly, I believe, before the squad announcement since February, because he's been out injured. We're always playing players that are recovering from injury. Maguire, slightly different story, because he has a small injury, and it was just before the announcement, so yeah, you could invariably take the risk, say, right, he misses 1 or 2 games, and then he'd be straight back in the side, because he is actually our best defender. I do love a bit of Harry Maguire, even though he does get pelters on the internet I see every week, and it's like, it's a sad indictment when Harry Maguire is your best defender, but he is. So you've got players that are always injured, and then you've got players that are in the squad. You think, oh, that's great, we'll get to see, Foden, Grealish, Sancho, and it's just, they don't play. Yeah, Foden started both games, but taken off. Even Harry Kane, taken off on both games. Like, if it's 0-0 against Scotland, why would you take your best striker off? And I've just banged the table, and the camera's moved. It annoys me that he then puts Rashford on. Rashford isn't a striker. He said he wanted to get in behind. That comes from the wingers. If we're playing 4-3-3, which I believe is the formation that we're playing on the UEFA graphic, then the getting in behind should come from your wingers and not your striker. Your striker should be hanging back, waiting for the cutbacks into the box. And it's nothing fancy. It's not, oh yeah, we've got to do this to unlock, a stubborn Scottish defence. It's just basic elementary stuff. Run at people, they will pull back. They're scared, and then pull the ball back into the box, which is where the majority of the goals are scored. But I wanted to get on the last point. See, I've rambled on again. It's the tournament play, right? So, as I was saying, we get through the qualifying stages. It's all good. Yeah, press is up. It's coming home. It's quite clearly not. Yeah, I've got more chance of walking than it's coming home, which is really funny, to be honest. But we get to the Euros, or we get to the World Cup, and we get a group of Croatia, Czech Republic, Scotland, and you're thinking in your head, right, that's a guaranteed 6 points in that group. You're looking at the first result of the Croatia, and you're thinking, we might lose that as we did in the semi, because as soon as we get to a team with decency, we always lose. So you're probably thinking, oh yeah, we'll come second in our group, then we'll get France, and then we get knocked out. I'm 100% sure that we'll probably scrape through in the Czech Republic game. I think it'll be a draw. I might change my mind in a few days, depending on what Kara says. But it looks pretty bad. And I'm going to take another sip of that because I'm getting angry at myself. Yeah, it's just the point of, we get to play a big team like France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and we lose. I mean, you look at the World Cup in Russia 3 years ago. Easy group of Panama, Tunisia, and Belgium. Tunisia we should be beating comfortably. The African teams are strong, but it seems to be more the Middle Africans that seem to be having more of the AFCON trophies. I may be wrong, but your Senegals, your Nigerias, your I think the only other team that would be any good is Algeria, and that's purely because of Mahrez. So we scrape past them 2-1, and you're thinking, oh, maybe pre-tournament jitters, and then we face a side who have never been to a World Cup before. Panama completely stuffed them. Your striker gets a hat trick. Everyone moans that he's got 2 goals in the first, 3 goals in the second, and he doesn't score against Belgium. So Belgium was the first test that we had, and you're thinking, right, we might be able to give it a go, and we lose. So you're thinking, oh, this is the first major side, and we've lost. So you get to the knockout tournaments, you think, oh, we could go a little bit further. Get quite a dogged side in Colombia. They were dirty, they were fouling. Manages to get to extra time. And you're thinking, oh, great, it's going to go to penalties. It does, and we never win at penalties. The last time we won penalty shootout, I believe, was Spain in Euro 96 before that. Yeah, so you're thinking, right, 1-1. It's not been a particularly good tournament. And then we go and win it. So you think, oh yeah, we can get past Sweden in the next game, which we do quite comfortably. I mean, the Swedes were poor that afternoon. We had a good set piece routine. I think 9 of our goals were from set pieces in the tournament. So that is both a worrying sign and an encouraging sign. But it's just, we get to the semis and we think, right, we've got a chance to exact. No, we didn't get to Belgium. Don't worry, I know what I'm talking about. We get to the semis, we got Croatia. And we're thinking, this is a level game. And we turn up for the first half an hour, and it always happens the same. Half an hour is great, the rest of the 60 minutes is not. And we managed to stuff it up. So we play, I'd say, just below us opponent in Croatia. They're not quite as good, but we don't play as a team. It's all individuals and it's all, club rivalries and all that. That doesn't happen in any other national team, probably apart from Spain, where it's the whole Real Madrid, Barcelona, and possibly Germany, because there's a whole Bayern Munich thing there. But, we get to Croatia and you think, we've got a chance. We go 1-0 up, and suddenly we can't defend the lead, it goes to extra time, and they score. So you're thinking, oh, we've had a good run. We've got to the third place playoff. And then we face Belgium again. Probably our toughest opponent in the whole of the World Cup again. You think, right, a chance to exact revenge. And the same thing happens all the time. We lose. Anytime we come up against an opponent that is better than us, we can't find a way to win. That's why we win all the qualifiers, and then when we get to the finals and we get to the knockout stages, it's all, oh yeah, we did well for the first 2 games, and then we do poorly, and it's like, I know we're only 2 games in, but it's proving how bad we actually are. We're not bad as in the whole squad. The squad is not bad. It's the players that have been chosen and the style of play that we're playing is not right for the team that's been selected. I mean, you'd have to put someone else up front, like a Calvert. You couldn't even put Calvert-Lewin up. You'd need a small, pacey striker, and probably, actually, Ollie Watkins would probably be your best bet, because he can get in behind. But again, Southgate doesn't make that decision. He wanted to take Mason Greenwood instead, who's a great player, but has been shafted out on the right wing for Man United, and then he withdraws, and it's just, we have no creativity. There needs to be creativity in a team, because if you have no creativity, you're going to have to use brute force, and we're not good at using brute force. I mean, you could force corners and get Maguire's head on it with Stones, they're pretty good, but it's just, Sterling wants to cut inside all the time. It just doesn't work with, the best player in the squad, which is Harry Kane. I don't agree with the goalkeeping situation either with Pickford playing, but he's played well, and that you can give him credit for. But when the same fundamental mistakes always happen, you have to question the management, and it will always be the same. It's a bit like Tottenham. We're always going to be as bad as we are because the owners and the chairman have systemic failures, and that will be the same with England. England are like the Spurs of the international scene. We have all these great players, but we don't seem to play them. Why can't we play Foden and Grealish? Why can't we find a way to do it? The 3-5-2 was working well in, was it 3? Yeah, it was 3-5-2, because Sterling was actually playing up front rather than off the wing, because that was so much better, and that worked. Why can't we find a way to have, Harry up top with Grealish and Foden in behind, with Maguire, Stones and Mings as a back three? It will work. I see many managers now are favouring more of a three at the back formation because it creates the overload and the creativity needed to get past these teams that are in a mid to low block. It's getting harder to play truer football now. Football has become almost too political, as you see with the Ronaldo thing with the Coke, the Pogba situation with the Heineken. I understand that he's Muslim, but it's those players saying that are like, that's what gives you the money that you have in your back pocket every week, but then you're making a stand because it's too much, but they're the ones paying for it. So I don't really understand that. I just don't see that either. But going back to Southgate, I just think that there's too many excuses. Oh, we don't want to lose a game. But then if we were one of the top third place teams, we'd probably invariably get a better game. So it that really doesn't wash with me. I just feel that once we get to bigger sides, sort of your Frances and your Germans, your Portuguese, your Italians, we're not going to have the tactical flexibility in order to say, right, we need to play like this. We need them to have the ball. Our players look relatively comfortable on the ball, but we sometimes, if we got one chance, it would never be taken. There's always, Sterling's trying to run everywhere and trying to shoot and that, and there's quite a simple pass off, and you think, well, why didn't he pass it? You see on Twitter, if Kane had passed it to Sterling in the semi-final of the World Cup, we'd have won it. And it's like, no, because Sterling was offside, or Kane was offside, one of the two. And actually, it was a very good save by the keeper. But people aren't gonna see that because, they're still so biased towards their own club that they say, oh yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan, Scouts, not English, and Chelsea fans. So any time that either a Tottenham player or a Man United player does something, they're like, oh, if we'd have done that, blah blah blah. So it's all just, we're all just wound up by the press. They say, oh, it's coming home, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I believe it. But if you actually sit there and watch the games, it's never gonna come home. It's boring, it's lethargic, it's slow. Yet in the qualifiers, it's completely opposite. So maybe we should have Gareth Southgate in charge for the qualifiers and then stick an attack-minded coach like me. I mean, I can do it. I can do the Spurs job as well. So Daniel Levy, if you're watching, you know where I am. 3 at the back, I think, with 2 up front. And just go for it. We never seem to go for it. And that is what really frustrates me with football in general, is that people are playing not to lose. You play football as a kid to win and have fun. We never seem to do that as a country. You have all the Spanish players, they pass and they pass and they pass, and you know, the last 4 years or so, you know, they've been found out. But at first it was like, wow, this is some of the best football I've seen. You watch Mbappe, you know, he's lightning quick, he's like a cheetah, you know, because he wants to play to win. We're always afraid to lose. You know, it's the same with everything in life. You know, us English are always afraid. We're afraid to do something. We're afraid to stick to our principles. We're afraid because of this whatever. You know, it's just, you know, it's Scotland. I mean, I love Scotland. I love some of the players. John McGinn is a fantastic player. I mean, I love him. I love Stuart Armstrong. Both fantastic players. And there were players that weren't at the Scottish squad in the Euros. That probably should have been there. Ryan Gould is a fantastic player. But they didn't play not to lose. They played their game. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they were insistent on doing it their way, and that's what they did, and that's why I'm Southgate out.